The cabin burned like a pyre against the black horizon, flames clawing into the night sky, smoke curling upward as though heaven itself might be summoned to witness the ruin. Clara May Hollister stood barefoot in the date, her dress scorched at the hem, ash clinging to her tangled hair. In her arms lay the only thing she had pulled from the inferno, a baby, wrapped tight in a wool blanket, still warm, still breathing, its small hand clutching at her skin as if she were the last branch on a river's edge. She did not think when she ran into the fire. She only heard the cry, piercing, desperate, the same sound she had once made years ago when her own mother left her swaddled in a church doorway. No one had come for her then. Tonight she refused to let that echo go unanswered. The baby's eyes were closed now, lashes damp, lips parting with soft, hiccup breaths. Clara pressed him tighter to her chest. "Hush, little one," she whispered, though the words tasted foreign, unused. She did not know lullabies, only the rhythm of rejection, the turning away of doors, the cold edges of nights spent curled in halos where rats scurried. Yet something in her voice steadied. The child quieted as if he recognized the loneliness in her. By dawn the fire had shrunk to a smolder, the air thick with char. Clara staggered along the trail toward Dry Creek, the nearest town, her arms aching from the weight she carried. She had never belonged there. Its people had looked at her with suspicion, a stray girl with no family, no future, one of those creatures that wandered the prairie until it consumed them. Still, she hoped hunger and pity might open at least one door if they saw the baby. They did not. The moment she crossed the threshold of town, the whispers swarmed. She stole that child. That's an Indian babe. Trouble will follow. A shopkeeper barred her from entering, crossing his arms. A widow hissed at her from her porch, dragging her own children inside as though Clara carried plague. Shame sank into her bones heavier than any load of wood or water she had hold. Only Sheriff Elias Boone lingered by the livery, hands heavy on his belt, a man carved by regret. He watched her with eyes that seemed to measure both her resolve and the storm gathering behind her. He said nothing, but his silence was a weight all its own. Clara begged for bread, for water, for shelter. None was given, so she retreated to the edge of town, finding space beneath a wagon. There, as the prairie wind cut like knives, she cupped her hands to catch drops from a barrel and trickle them onto the baby's lips. Coyotes cried in the distance, a chorus of hunger that might have been her own. She looked to the stars, thinking of them as windows where lost mothers leaned to watch their children. Her eyes burned with fatigue, but each time the baby stirred, she forced herself awake. He needed her. That truth gave her more warmth than any blanket. Morning arrived brittle and still, the kind of silence that feels sharpened. Men of Dry Creek gathered rifles, their faces white with dread. Clara followed their eyes and saw what froze them. On the ridges beyond town, 500 horsemen had assembled, dark against the sky. Feathers lifted in the wind, the sun flashing off steel and bone. The Cheyenne had come, silent and waiting, their presence like the tide before a storm. Fear spilled through the town like water from a broken dam. "We'll be slaughtered," one woman cried. "It's the girl. They've come for that child." Accusations struck Clara like stones. Yet she clutched the baby closer, his tiny heartbeat against hers, and for the first time in years she did not retreat. The sheriff stepped forward. His voice cracked but carried. That child, his blood to them. He looked at Clara. "It's the only reason we still breathe." The crowd surged, voices sharp. "Send her out. She brought this curse on us." Yet before hand could seize her, Clara began to walk. Dust rose around her bare feet, the baby heavy but unyielding in her arms. Every step across that open field was a confession, a prayer, a defiance. She felt the eyes of the whole town on her back, but more than that she felt the gaze of 500 riders pressing down, waiting to see if she was thief or savior. The world slowed. The baby shifted, a soft sound escaping his lips. Clara bent her head, kissed his temple. "Almost home," she murmured. Her heart pounded against her ribs as she crossed the last stretch of open earth, until the shadow of the first horse loomed before her. From a line of warriors, a man broke forward. His horse's hooves struck the ground like thunder. He was tall, scarred, his eyes burning with grief. Red Elk, a chief whose losses had already written themselves into his face. He dismounted slowly, each motion deliberate, as though he carried the weight of centuries. His gaze never left the child. Clara sank to her knees in the date. Her arms trembled, refusing to release, but at last she lifted the baby toward him. The chief reached out, his great hand surprisingly gentle as they gathered his son, Little Hawk, against his chest. For an instant Clara and the chief's eyes met, both raw with loss, both carrying scars invisible to the crowd watching from afar. No words passed, yet an understanding bridged the gulf between them. The warriors lifted their spears high. A sound rolled from their throats, not the scream of vengeance, but a wail of mourning that rolled across the plains like thunder. It was a cry of a people grieving yet spared a deeper wound. Then, as one, they wheeled their horses and rode from the hills, the dust of their departure veiling the horizon. Dry Creek stood unharmed. But not a single voice thanked Clara. They only stared as though the girl had merely delayed the blade over their necks. Only Sheriff Boone inclined his head, the smallest gesture of respect, his silence softer now. Clara walked away from the town without a word, her arms empty yet strangely light. For once she did not feel like a beggar at the mercy of others. She had carried life through fire and fear and into the hands where it belonged. Her feet bled, her body sagged, but her spirit rose. And if you listen close, traveler, to the wind that crosses those empty plains, you might hear a lesson, that dignity is not given by the gossip of towns or the weight of a badge, nor taken by fire or hunger. It is forged in the quiet choices no one sees, when mercy outweighs fear, and when a lonely soul dares to hold another against the darkness. In such moments, even the smallest among us can change the fate of nations.